Hello, everyone. Welcome to Movie Review. That is definitely on time, as it always is, and we never miss an upload. Um, I'm here today with,
Me, Mr. Beefy, Ultimate Beefy, also known as Dylan.
and I'm Marcus, otherwise known as Mark and Cheese, and we're reviewing what I think Dylan was pleasantly surprised as. No one expected this movie to be as great as it was. Not to spoil anything, but we watched RRR, a movie
Holy
that.
shit. Holy shit, this was a good movie.
And so I first discovered this movie. There's some random ass clip on TikTok where like this guy grabs a gun in slow motion, shoots a bullet, and a car flips over. And I went, well, I need to learn more now. And it's a film
That
that's
scene
I
cracked
think only
me
on
up.
Netflix. It's so good because it's like the CG was so bad but good on purpose, and it made it so much better.
So,
Ah.
before we get a little bit too far into it, real quick, for those who are noticing, we are missing one out of the three. Carlos cannot join us because Marcus stole his mic.
I didn't steal it. All right, he put it in my car because he thought we were going to do something as far as recording over here. It did not happen. We bought more Dragon Ball cards, um,
So,
and so he accidentally left it in my car when I brought him home.
and
Yep.
I think also he forgot to watch the movie.
I doubt he's watched it yet. It's a 3-hour movie.
Yeah, okay, so that's the first thing I just want to say. This movie's long. And
It was.
the thing about it being long, though, is at first I was like, I went in going through the expectations of this movie is way too long. It's going to be really, really dragged on. But no, I
No.
was hooked. I was glued to my chair. It was
Shit
so
keeps
good.
happening.
It kept going. It kept going. It had some of the best characters I've seen. And mind you, if this movie was not like Dollywood, dude, like it was, you would see this on like shitpost YouTubing because
Oh, absolutely.
it's like they gave one of those really cringy, highly over dramatic Indian films a Marvel level budget. And they
Right?
said, you know what? Marvel puts all their budget into CGI. Let's put it all into music and action and explosions and holy shit. I'm sorry,
Bro,
this movie's just so good. It's so
it
good.
was so good. The fights were incredible. Oh, like I again without spoiling anything though, like the fight that happens at the palace. Holy shit.
That so let's talk about our format real quick, just so we can let everyone know how this is gonna work. So basically, we give our quick reviews, our quick insights, and everything like that, spoiler free. As we've already talked about a couple small little scenes without going into detail. And then we go into the spoiler version and give our final reviews and go from there. So far, you can tell Marcus and I are having a fucking blast talking about this movie because holy shit, it's so good.
It was so good. I watched this at work, right?
No.
Because it was such a slow day at work. So I was like, oh, well, I gotta watch this movie. And it was just, I'm sitting there in my chair, and every 5 minutes, something else happens where I'm like, no. What the? Oh. And I like, my coworker looks over, she's like, what are you? And I'm like, I'm emotionally compromised right now, okay?
So the movie RRR also stands for Rise, Roar, and Revolt. It doesn't say that anywhere else besides like near the first 30 minutes of the movie out of
Yep.
this 3-hour masterpiece.
Mm-hmm.
And just my quick takes on it because I was watching this in my chair and I was like, dude, I want to go to the gym, but I can't. I have to keep watching it. And initially, the movie I thought was going to be long. It was well paced. There was a couple of story elements that they left out, but it was completely overshadowed by the pure beautiful action that it was. The music was amazing. The soundtrack was so good.
Oh, I love
Um,
all the music.
like holy crap! And there were scenes that was like getting me on the edge of my seat because it was so emotional and impactful.
Right?
I'm also a history
Dude.
nerd, so this is a beautiful time period movie about like the British Raj and like Britain's control of India. minus the crackhead shit that happened at the end.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, the crack. But I don't think I've ever seen a movie or like any media based on this time frame. I'm sure it exists, just not in the mainstream.
It's
So
definitely like a Dollywood Bollywood kind of thing because India would definitely make movies about those time periods because it's what reflects to them. It's kind of like
right,
how us here in America we do like a lot of Revolutionary War, colonial
yeah.
war, independence war, stuff like that.
And again, that's probably why it was so entertaining too, because we're not watching another Revolutionary War movie. You know.
Yeah. And I would say for me personally, this movie earns a immaculate 9 out of 10.
Uh yeah, without going into spoilers yet, I loved all of the action. This movie made me laugh constantly. I bust out laughing in the office, and people are like, "What are you doing?" Just don't worry about it. And just such a roller coaster. Easy for right now. It's gonna be an 8 out of a 10.
So I will say as well before we go into the spoiler section, I did have to stop watching it like halfway through, like I told you.
Mm-hmm.
And and that was the part that got me because I was watching the first hour and 30 minutes
Right.
and I was getting ready to go to the gym and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna watch it. And I was so tired that I crashed. So I watched a little bit of it at work, and there was a scene where I was on my break that made me like audibly go, "What the fuck did I just watch?" And I'm like, "There's no way in hell this dude literally just starts hovering, like Minecraft creative mode hovering, grabs a rifle, and then just takes shot. And the car flips, and that's not a spoiler, but just like the action of it was just so like out of it. My coworker walks over, is like, "Hey man, you good? What are you watching?" And I show him the clip, and he goes, "I will never understand what you're watching and what you're into. You young people confuse the fuck out of me." And then he walks away. Mind you, like my
Oh.
coworker's like 38 or some shit like that. And he's like, "Bro, what the hell is this?" So that little clip I did watch, it, dude, movie was perfect all the way through in my opinion. Except I will get into the more detailed stuff. Was there
Right.
anything else you wanted to say before we go into the spoiler sections?
Um, Nothing other than Raj is the best
Chad.
action hero. Yeah, Chad of all time.
Agreed, dude. I want a mustache now.
Right? It took 12 seconds of this man being on screen where I go, I want a mustache like that. I
I
want to be like
know.
him. uh, okay. I guess we'll start talking about spoilers now. You've been warned. Please go watch this movie. Even after the spoiler part of the review, please go watch this movie. I can't talk. I'm very excited. I'm also cold and shaking in my chair right now.
Dude,
I
you're the water, I'm
I
the fire. um yeah, so and I also agree. It's on Netflix. You can watch it. It's best 3 hours of your life you're never gonna get back. Dude, it's if it's one of those movie nights where you're sitting down with your lady and she's like, "Hey, you pick the movie this time." You go, "All right, bet I got RRR on deck. We're gonna waste 3 hours. We're gonna laugh, love, cry, all this stuff." Oh man.
Oh.
So yeah,
So,
you want to
yeah,
start off with
you want
the
to just go start to finish?
yeah, please, please, please.
Okay. So, the movie opens up, right? We're out in the middle of nowhere. There's a nice little village, and wasn't it
The daughter.
yes, the daughter, she's tattooing or like painting. Is he he's not a general, he's a
It wasn't the general. It was the governor's wife.
governor. Thank you.
And she was
Yeah, I knew
singing
it
a
was the
beautiful
wife. I
song.
just couldn't remember if he was like what his title was. He was
Governor
governor.
Scott.
Yes,
Governor
that's the one.
Scott Baxton, to be exact. What a piece of shit, by the way. We'll get into that.
Yes. Um, the girl is tattooing his wife's hand, and they all come back from a hunting trip, and they're prancing around their catch, these like deer that they've clearly murdered horribly. And she's all like, "Oh look, I look at how great this is." And what they understand is, yeah, let's pay the girl for her work. No, they buy the girl's daughter and just take her
For
away from her
two
family.
shilling. Like, I looked it up at that time. That was the equivalent of literally tossing someone 2 quarters and being like, thanks for the kid.
Yep.
Like, holy
And
crap.
next, when the parents are chased, when the mother tries to get her daughter back, they have the best setup for the biggest impact at the end of the movie.
And literally, one of the British officers pulls out his revolver, puts the gun at aim, and then the governor says, "Stop. Do you know how much that bullet costs?" And then goes into the factory in England. It cost him like £1 to make it. Then it came
Right.
here on an English boat, all the way from England to India, and then put into your hand to put into that gun. Do you really think this Indian person's life is worth the same as that bullet?
Which, this is like 5 minutes in the movie, and you're like, oh shit, all of these guys are fucking evil. That was cold. And he proceeds to then beat her over the head with like a log he picks off the ground.
Mind you, this soldier does not look like strong at all. He looks like 180 soaking wet. He picks up this log like it's nothing and smashes it into the mother's head, and that log splinters into a million pieces. So immediately you're like, these soldiers are strong, and this dude is effed up. Like,
Yeah.
weirdly strong.
You're just like, fuck this guy.
And it kills her.
Yeah, well, I think she was actually alive, wasn't she, at the end?
Yes. They didn't explain how she survived. They just showed her she was okay.
Yeah, but she took a fucking hit to the head.
And they thought they killed her. And then the daughter, Molly, is just screaming for her mom. And so then the brother vows to bring her sister back.
Right. And that's the setup. Well, the first initial motivation of the movie. Next comes one of the greatest scenes.
Dude, the next scene was one of the best intros to a story villain I've ever seen in my entire life. There was no intro to the name. There was no intro to like what he's about. It was just visual storytelling at its finest. Because, of course, for those who don't know, Britain, despite losing to Americans, ruled most of the world.
Yep.
And so they decided, hey, that little piece of land they call India, we're going to take control of it. And this police station was getting swarmed by rioting like natives, essentially. And it got to the point where they were shaking the fence, and all the soldiers were shitting their pants. Except one. Except one. With the thickest mustache, and he stands still. And what happens is a rioter in a red shirt throws a rock, and it hits the portrait of King George V, if I'm correct about which king it is.
I think so, yeah.
And immediately, the commander goes, arrest that man, with such confidence, and then realizes that all of his men are afraid, and bring him to me.
It's a fucking crowd of like thousands of people surrounding these like 12 officers.
The fence could break at any moment. And so this unnamed soldier runs over this fence, literally like Superman jumps across it and parkours. Mind you, this fence looked like it was going to give out any second. It was like the most solid piece of steel I've ever seen with this one jump. And he leaps like, 20 yards into the crowd and just starts kicking everyone's ass?
Yeah, they all start trying to punch him. Every time they try to like get on top of him, he stands back up, throws them off, beats the shit out of everybody, tosses them aside, and keeps walking forwards like, I'm coming for your ass.
And it gets to the point where like they have the most interesting camera angle I've seen, where of course it's 1 million people versus one man, right? And you're like, unless this dude is Indian Superman, there's no way he's getting out of this. So it shows the pylon, and the camera cuts to being inside the pylon, which I've never seen before. That was amazing.
It was really good, yeah.
And to get out of it, he pinches one dude's ear and pulls it, breaks another dude's wrist, and then just starts elbowing everyone and breaks out of there, climbs up on this tower, and then manages to push 20 people off a cliff to catch this one dude. And he's bleeding and broken and destroyed the whole time.
It was so good, because once he grabs the guy, they open the gate for him. He throws the guy through there. He like walks over to the well, like just washes off his face gently, turns back around and stands to attention immediately. Like his uniform's all pristine and clean. And the commander is just like, I
I
more
fear
terrified than
that
him.
man. I fear him. And then, of course, immediately after that, because you see he's very dedicated, because the scenes show that the Union Jack of Britain is over them, and he's clearly a loyal, dedicated soldier. He's definitely like, I will die for the Emperor and the Crown. You're like, oh, okay, cool.
Right.
So immediately, the award ceremony happens, and of course, all the people that are getting awarded from standard like soldier to officer, or like a special rank like special officer. It's like all these like generic white dudes like Thomas Willingham and John Bradshaw, shit like that. And
Yeah, after he just fucking took on an army, he doesn't get recognized for anything that he did.
he is pissed. And mind you, if you are questioning if you should go to the gym, just watch RRR for gym motivation, because my god, these dudes are shredded.
Yeah, and he fucking punches through the sandbag. I was like, holy shit.
He was pissed too.
Oh,
And of course, that'd be understandable. You are literally dedicating your life to being a soldier and wanting to climb up the ranks, and you'll do anything for the Union Jack, and you do not get recognized. And arguably, it's because he is an Indian native. Because
yeah.
the British don't acknowledge Indian people. Like as we said, a bullet is worth more than an Indian life over there at that time. So,
And
oh,
to further express how well put together these scenes were, is when he's first introduced and fighting through this crowd, there's this very simple theme that plays every time.
with like a tuba or some shit.
Yeah, and it's just like three notes, but it just portrays his motivation. Yeah, where he just keeps going. It's like on the level almost of Darth Vader when he's marching with the Imperial theme.
Exactly.
It's just kind of like you hear the song, you look at him and go, "Oh shit, just nothing's going to stop this man."
And afterwards, there's rumors of this one guy that they rumor called Bheem or Bheem, who is the lion and the son of pride of his tribe, who's going to find this girl. Don't know how the hell they get this information. They just do.
Yeah,
And that puts the British government like, okay, look, we need to get someone to get this dude, bring him in, dead or alive. And so
right.
none of the soldiers are speaking up until the governor's wife says, and the one who does will get the promotion of special officer immediately.
I think you're now. While this is important, this guy is the other main character, and he also has a ridiculously over the top intro.
Correct. Yeah, I forgot to look over the part where he literally catches a tiger.
Because he's like first trying to catch a wolf, but the wolf's not good enough. He wants the tiger, and he essentially wrestles a tiger in a match of brute strength as it's chasing him, and he tries to
And
clamp it down with
clawing
him.
him. It's literally clawing him and tearing him apart. And he's just like, yep, nope, just gonna bare man handle these two ropes.
And I really like from the get-go, they're portraying the two characters and like what they're supposed to represent. Because before both of them, it does like one is fire, one is water. Which, yes, we see that in so main character one, we can go ahead and say his name is Raj. He is the fire. He has this anger burning passion where he gets through whatever he needs. While the other guy, he's calm even in the face of this adversity of this giant beast trying to claw his face off. He just calmly, with his amazing strength, catches this animal in a net and fights it. And it's just like sets the tone for the rest of the movie where you see both of them act this way, and it's really impressive, just the overarching tone and symmetry that they have with the characters. And I'm like, yes, I appreciate all of this. There's like craftsmanship to this movie that I really appreciate. There's so much love put into this movie.
Another
Oh,
thing too is so right after that, of course, they capture the
Carlos messaged
lion.
us.
Oh, what did he say?
He said hello, and I'm
Oh,
saying hi.
hi, Carlos. So yeah, basically he now has these animals, and no one knows what he's doing with them at first. And then he goes into town. Mind you, this dude's tribal, and he's just hiding with this other group of people that are just trying to find his daughter. That's his very simple goal. All right. Well,
Right.
then we go into the whole idea of what I was just talking about, where no one wants to step up. This guy's dangerous. Yada yada. The queen, not the queen, but the governor's wife goes. Whoever gets it gets a special promotion,
Right.
and
Be
he
granted the
immediately
rank of
steps
the
up,
officer.
dead or alive.
Yeah. Yep.
And she's like, "Well, if you bring him in dead, that's a bounty. If you bring him in alive, then you get your promotion rank." And he goes, "Perfect." And then literally grows out his beard instantaneously, goes undercover, and tries to blend in with the civilians so he can try to find the resistance members. From there, um, it was just going off, dude. Um, Basically, what happens is this little kid, he is paying, I believe it was this
Yeah.
this new
It's
character, Atkar, which is basically just, you know, Bheem, but in disguise.
right.
This little kid was asking his brother, "Hey, let me go into the water. I'll go get you a fish for 2 coin."
Um, we also have to be careful where we're not just reciting the whole movie.
No, 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 I understand. Um, and then that sets up to where this new guy, which is Raju, who is the main villain in disguise as well. They basically go to the point where Atkar and Raju team up to save this kid, and they form the most manly of friendships I have ever seen, with fire, rope, and they're underwater talking to each
It
other and
was
shit. What?
beautiful. It was so crazy because there was no communication. He like looked at him. He like did hand signals and then threw a rope to him, and he was like, "Yes, I know what you mean."
And I know
They
exactly
fucking
where we're going. You have a motorcycle, I have a horse, and this is not going to be another thing that we're going to do ever again in the movie. Or so we thought.
yeah, and they just dive off the opposite ends of a bridge, swinging back and forth majestically as they rescue the child, and wrap themselves in the Indian flag as they fly through the fire and come back. And it was just like, wow.
And mind you, this was the setup for a good mid part of the movie. Where
Yeah,
Raju, aka the antagonist, and Atkar, aka the protagonist for this portion of the story, become best friends. Where they start going around on motorcycles, and also because of Raju being able to speak English, he helps Atkar get a date essentially with a British royal.
yeah, because Adgar has a love interest where he basically sees this woman be kind, to the all the native people, um, while the officers are being dickheads to everybody. She's just kind of like, you know, don't be an ass.
And it's really sad too because how Raju sees it as, "Hey man, she's really attractive. Go hit her up." Adkar sees it as, "Yes, she is a love interest, but also this is a chance to see where Molly is." And it was a
Right.
really interesting because they developed this really strong friendship. And it reminds me of Marcus and I's friendship, where we're both weird and idiots and we dance all the time. But we're like super manly with big muscles, right?
Yep, that's what we look like. Just different color.
Can we have the thumbnail be them at the wedding, but it's just our faces over it? Can we please? Can we please?
Just poorly photoshopped over.
Yeah. Um,
Oh.
but so, and it's really interesting because you get their two motives and they slowly show them side by side, but they're the best of friends because they're keeping the secret from each other. If they find out who each other are, that could end a tragic friendship, and they literally say that they're best of friendos.
Yeah. Like, as we're going through this movie, some of the ridiculousness in action reminds me a lot of anime in a way.
I was just about to say the dance scene reminded me of a JoJo battle.
Dude, the dance scene was the greatest thing that I did not expect and did not know I needed to happen.
Just look up, for those who are listening, RRR Let's Nacho or RRR Wedding or like Party Dance. You're welcome. That's all I'm gonna say.
Uh, I sitting at my desk watching this made me want to do nothing but get out and start jumping around
Like dancing with them.
It was so good.
The soundtrack was also
Oh,
really good. There was moments that like definitely hit like the proper beat and feel, because whoever
yeah.
worked the sound design of this movie made every moment feel tense or appropriate. Like the little date scene between Atkar and this woman named Jenny was perfect. Every romantic scene, every moment that Raju would show his dark evil side and try to do interrogations or investigate people, you would feel that vibe of everything bad. And then of course,
Yes.
all good things must come to an end. And while Raju is interrogating Atkar's brother, sadly, Raju gets poisoned, and then it leads to Atkar saving him, and then unveiling, "Hey, I just want to let you know I haven't been truthful to you. I am Bheem. I'm here looking for my sister." And
Right.
Raju is pissed. He immediately drops this like persona in his mind and struggles to try to strangle and capture Atkar, but Atkar just thinks that he's struggling from the poison.
Right.
And then you get
He
one of
doesn't
the
realize what's going on.
best scenes in my opinion, where it's Raju's first feeling of moral conflict, where you hear this sweet, like serene, beautiful music of transparency flowing like water,
Right.
versus his military, you know, I must stick to my guns and honor the crown music conflicting with each other.
Yes.
And that becomes a new common theme, because at first, Atkar and his family pull the plan. They break into the castle during a nice party and they let go of 1,000 beasts, while Atkar, aka Bheem, is just goaded up. Assassin's Creed mode, literally Herculean, just starts tearing up everybody.
Yeah. It was wild.
And then within seconds, somehow, Raju got it back into his military uniform, and we get the first biggest fight of the whole series.
It. Oh, and what a fucking beautiful fight it was.
Well
Especially like,
choreographed.
oh, and then when they go over the top with the symbolism of one of them being fire and water, where they literally have, what was it? Raju had like a torch in his hand, and then Bheem had like that hose where they like both the fire and the water swirls and like flies around them as they're in slow motion trying to jump and beat the shit out of each other, and you're like, this is everything I wanted.
And you even see moments where like that element is like switching between them, because there are moments where Raju could easily go for the kill and kill Bheem,
Right.
but
But
you would think, oh, he's probably like doesn't want to do it because the promotion. No, this man has been best friends with this guy for like, I guess the movie kind of portrays it as year, roughly.
yeah, it's been quite some time.
Like
It's hard to tell how
they
long.
are truly best friends, and Raju, he really doesn't want to kill him or hurt him to that degree. But
Right.
Bheem just looks at it as, you're getting in the way of me getting my sister. You're a bastard. I'll kill you. And literally,
Yeah.
as he's dangling to his death, will climb back up and take the assistance from Raju just to punch him.
Yeah.
Such a powerful fucking
The
scene.
first time my heart broke.
Exactly. Also, I gotta
First
say,
of like 15.
I never thought I would ever see Indian God of War, by the way, where Bheem just takes these chains, grabs them, wraps them around his arm, and throws a fucking cement pillar at Raju.
Oh my god, yes.
And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? Nani the fuck?
It was so good though.
And so, of course, it leads it to where Governor Scott finally comes back, and then he pulls a rifle with one arm and points it at the sister, and then, of course, Bheem has to turn himself in. Act 1, well, technically Act 2, done. First act kind of ends when they introduce Bheem and Raju.
Yeah. Which really, the whole thing could be Act One, I guess, but it's like this is the huge turning point for the movie after that, where now that they have Bheem, um, the royals want to torture him publicly so that no one else will rebel like he did because they want to punish him for what he's done. And boy, does it get rough.
Dude, they did something so it's a very cliche scene of this person, it becomes a martyr. He gets tortured, he gets killed, whatever happens, and then everyone around them that's going through the same grief gets this fire lit inside of them, and then they get a new bit of inspiration because he died for their sins, kind of thing. He died for their
Right.
freedom. But in this case, Bheem is such a strong character that he doesn't bend the knee. And that's literally all the British people want. The British just want him to bend the knee and admit his crimes. And then instead of that, he goes, you know what? Fuck you, I'm gonna sing. And then sings a note about this is your freedom. You shouldn't do this. You should fight for what's right for you. And Raju, who we do find out through a subplot that the whole reason he wanted to become a naval officer, not naval officer, but a special officer, was to provide guns with his village back at home.
Yep. It's just kind of like he not only this is the part they make him torture his best friend after he already had to fight him, capture him, and take him in. He's already conflicted, and this is where he feels the worst. During the torture, he actively tries to get him to look like he's kneeling and just like look, no, it's done, right?
Even to the point where he puts pressure on his leg to force him to kneel. And Bheem's like, fuck you. Fuck all this. No.
Yeah, he's like, this is not happening. I'm sticking to what I believe. And that's right after that is when they show we get more of Raj's backstory about how his village was one of the first to like
Revolt.
really push back.
Because his dad was formerly a British soldier. Stuff happened. He ran away with the only Lee Enfield rifle, funny enough. For those gun nuts out there and historians, they used traditional Lee Enfield Mark IIIs and Mark IIs. That's just the rifle that they use with the right caliber.
Okay.
Yes, my gun nut side came out when I was watching this movie too. So he had the only gun, and then the whole time he was teaching his people to load, aim, shoot. Load, aim, shoot. And it's kind of hard when the leader of the village has the only rifle.
Right.
Then he finds out that Raju, whatever you want to say his name is. I'm going to say Ram. I'm going to stop saying Raju. His actual name's Ram, too.
Okay.
Yeah. It's on his badge. Ram basically is the best marksman in the village next to his own dad. Then stuff happens, family dies, and Ram's the last survivor, and then he promises to bring back guns to his village. And then that's basically the quick summary of his backstory. That's his goal. And you find out that he's not truly a bad guy. He just has to do bad things to get his way and get the revolution started. Versus all Bheem wanted was his sister back.
Yep.
And the conflict just
Bheem
keeps
was
eating
ready
him
to
up.
Bheem was ready to just start fight now. There's no weight in him. He just wants to constantly act. And in that sense, I think they're really opposites too. For, describing one as fire, it's like you'd think that would be the act right now. And that's where, like you were saying earlier, they have opposites. It's the way they want to approach this whole thing too. How their overarching theme seems to really represent one another.
And this is when we get into the next act of the movie, to where now Ram, or Raju, begins to plan a breakout scene to free Bheem, because he realized that Bheem had such a more important thing than what Raju was, because Raju has basically been torturing and hurting his own people, while Bheem just wants to save his own people. So then there's that moral conflict there. You get this really cool scene where basically Raju confides in his uncle, who's also a secret officer, and basically they do this whole crazy plan to where they convince the governor to go hang Bheem out by the river, because if they killed him at the prison, that same riot that happened during the torture scene, they would treat the prison as a martyr and a shrine to Bheem. But in reality,
Right.
Raju was like, hey, great place to save my friend, my best friend. So every rifle that was being sent on this mission, he actually disabled the firing pins on them.
Yeah, he sat there, and you get to see like a time lapse where he takes the time to sabotage every single one of them.
And because he's the special officer, he's in charge of the weaponry. He gets to make sure the armory, all the guns are good, and then he sends them out. He also had this plan to almost kill the governor by having a giant palm tree fall on his car, killing him. And then he would theoretically drive with Molly down to the hangman's post and then save his buddy because their guns don't work.
Right.
The governor had a different plan. The
Yeah,
governor
he did.
said, drive, damn it. Drives, and the tail end of the car gets crashed. No, the front end, right?
Yes, the front end of the car, the tree comes down on it, and the back end lifts up. His rifle flies out of the car, and when he's like at the peak of flight, his head cocks from back to full straight. He focuses, he channels his inner demon, grabs the weapon, and laser pinpoint pow onto the wheel of Rom's car, where it just goes fucking flying and flips shit over, and it's amazing.
Yeah, the first half's like, oh, this all seems so realistic to a degree. And then the second half, you're like, what the fuck did I just watch? Literally, he didn't even like fly. The governor literally just Minecraft T-pose creative mode up, grab the arm in 2.5 seconds, aim fire. And then you have...
I was going to say the governor put Neo to shame.
Oh my god, he did. Such a power move. I was like, god damn. Oh, and also, of course, Raju has his like heel to face turn, and then the governor's actually the true antagonist of all this because he constantly repeats the same notion of, hey, this bullet is worth more than an Indian's life. That was actually the reason why Raju's dad fled, because the whole idea of how are lives worth less than a damn bullet. So with that being said, Molly and Raju start running away from the soldiers, where Raju gets injured. And, dude, this dude's injured, mind you. And he's taking these dudes out with 4 limbs at a time.
Yeah, there was literally a part where 4 officers grab onto him, and he, like, has
Headlocks
one
all of
limb
them.
for... Yep. Headlock on each limb, and just fucking, like,
Drops
dude's a
him.
Chad.
And then you get the second misunderstanding. Well, not a second misunderstanding, but the first misunderstanding that broke my heart. Where they're running, and Bheem notices that Molly's running towards him, and all you see is Ram with his pistol, but he's actually pointing it at a rifleman who fixed his rifle and is going to shoot Bheem.
Yep.
So,
Who's directly behind him.
which, of course, conveniently, Molly, the little girl, ducks, and Bheem somehow Superman lunges over it for the bullet to perfectly graze both of them and shoot the officer in the head, which leads to Bheem Superman punching him,
Yep.
knocking him out, and then running away to the point where he looks like he's going to kill him, and then he doesn't. Mind you, this is the first time we've seen Bheem with any, like, recoil on killing and recoil at hurting.
Yeah.
He literally pulls out like his own version of Wolverine's claws and just straight up jabs Raj in the heart. Don't know how Raj survived that.
No, he had like a he had a tree branch or something that was like super sharp, or a stake, something, and it looks like camera, because the camera's up, and it looks like he's gonna slam it down in his face, and then it pans down and it's just next to his head,
Right.
and he just leaves.
I was referring to like back when we saw them do the first attack during the attack at the party, where he just straight up stabs Ram in the fucking chest with those little like 3 sticks.
Oh yeah,
He stabs
he
him in
just
the
kind of took
chest.
that.
Yeah, he just took that like a champ, but you realize, like, if Ram has the resistance to not kill Bheem wasn't showing resistance initially in that fight, but then he spared Ram's life and just ran.
Right.
And then Ram took that chance to do another fucking grapple thing again with the 4 soldiers, and he just waits until they're gone.
Yep. And then gives up and is taken.
So we go through this next arc where now the roles are reversed.
Yep.
Ram is the prisoner, stuck in solitary confinement. and Bheem is free, roaming around doing his thing, and he has his sister, and they're trying to get back. Because of the situation and because of how much of a threat Bheem is to the British Empire, they send the entire state essentially under lockdown, and this kind of leads to two paths crossing where Atkar, aka Bheem, gets to meet Rom's fiance, which they kind of cover over during the best friend arc.
Yeah.
She finds out that everything that Rom was doing was for good, and Bheem has a reflection moment going, "Oh my god, I'm an idiot. I was doing something so selfish when he had a bigger plot," which was identical to Rom's feeling going, "Oh my god, I'm an idiot. I'm attacking the people I love," when he's trying to protect the people he loves.
Yep.
Which was such a beautiful contrast in character.
Oh, and it was like every time one of them got captured or caught, and you just think the movie's going to be over, but then it keeps going, and it's not like one of those, oh, there's more. It's like, oh wait, there's more. Yes.
For me, whenever one got captured, I was like, "You bastard, you better go save him."
Yeah.
I just kept cheering.
So pissed.
I just kept cheering at this point.
Like, yes, you better go fucking save him.
So, this actually ends up leading to a little interesting arc where Bheem ends up going back to the same prison and going to rescue Rom in the most badass, Assassin's Creed way I've ever seen in my life.
Did the both simultaneously stupid and amazing plot of, yes, I will put my marksman friend up on my shoulders with 2 rifles, where we run around a prison and he murders everybody.
And you might be wondering why. Just for a quick note, the entire time that Rom was captured, he just worked out. He just did pull-ups the entire time.
Yeah, it was so good because the British prison guard was all like, "Yes, we've been feeding him just the minimum, so he's going to be nothing but a twig by now." And it pans over to him where he's doing fucking pull-ups.
He has the craziest looking back and abs I've ever seen in my life. And his shoulders are like little boulders, and I'm like, holy crap. So then they bust up his knees, throw him in solitary, a literal hole that's like a 1 foot by 1 foot cube. And with his injured knees, you know what he does? He tucks them in and then keeps doing pull-ups in this hole. What? I want to get that strong. I literally worked out after I saw that. I was like, hell yeah.
I want to be this man.
Dude, talk about modern day action hero type shit. That was badass, dude.
Yeah. Oh, God.
So, we go back to the scene where, as Marcus probably put, a really cool breakout scene where Bheem, with just his strength, rips open a metal and wood cell door.
Yep.
And then Echo locates his friend, pulls him out. Then they do this crazy run together where at first they start fist fighting all the guards. And then they get rifles. And then they fly like 2 dragons with the rifles into safety. And they just keep running. And they
took chicken fight to a whole new level.
And then afterwards, as they're running into the woods, they stop by the same statue that Rom was looking at when he first became special officer. And you then find out, almost instantaneously, that Rom is like the son and the heir of a lineage of great hunters and warriors. And Bheem is just basically Indian Hercules.
Yep.
To where, literally with just a bow and arrow and pure strength, and like the darkness and a bunch of fire arrows, they take down 2 squads of just overall British infantry, cause a whole fire to the woods, and mind you, they're going back and forth fighting these dudes. Motherfucking Bheem stops a motorcycle with his bare hand, grabs the front wheel, launches a soldier out of it, picks it up, and just throws it. Also, they do this scene 3 times to where it's Bheem on the motorcycle and Raju on the horse for some reason, for symbolism.
Yeah.
And What the
Not sure what
fuck?
it means,
I
but
don't either.
yeah.
So they defeat the bad guys that are in the woods, and they go, "Well, we have one more thing we have to do." And they go.
Governor's next.
They go to the governor. The governor loads cannons. The cannons don't get fired, if I recall correctly. And
They like fire a few shots, but it's Rom's arrow that flies through the fortress perfectly right into where all of their gunpowder is stored.
right, well, it wasn't the arrow that got shot perfectly. Remember, it was this bike they were riding, and then Rom threw that shit, and then it got perfectly hit by a flaming arrow that Rom had. Bheem threw the bike, and then it perfectly, instead of hitting the governor, which I thought was going to happen, it perfectly like undershots, goes through the window and blows up the entire armory, killing everyone except the governor.
Yeah.
In which the governor sees his wife is dead, goes to grab his rifle, he gets shot with an arrow, and then the most symbolic thing is, "Wow, governor, why would you waste that bullet, dum-dum? If he loves his bullet so much, Bheem, give it back to him."
Oh, dude. When before they even finished the sentence, he was just like, when he asked the governor why he would waste the bullet, I'm just like, oh no, here it comes. I wasn't ready. But the biggest smile is just already on my face, like, yes, give it back to him. Give it back to him.
So, governor dies, and everything goes back to normal to a degree, to where they take all these guns that Bheem was able to save from... Okay, real quick. Yeah, so this entire building's on fire and falling apart. Bheem just walks in there and then grabs like 4 crates of guns.
Yeah, he
And the
just
building
strolled
falls on
in there.
him.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're like, oh no, Bheem, he might have died or something. Nope, he just walks on top of the rubble with the 4 guns. Hey man, I found these. And just gives them to Rom. And I was like, wow, you remember. Cool.
You got me a Christmas present.
Oh, thank you. And so they kill the governor, and then they go back to meeting their friends and family, and everything's all good. And they keep cutting between the actual story and this weird, like, musical cue. And
where it looks like, yeah, the whole ending is this just giant dance number and song with, I'm guessing they're all like key figures in Indian history.
something like that, because the whole point of the movie is about British ownership over India during the British Raj in the 1920s and onward, and how the revolution was starting and everything like that, and how it's better to be free than it is to be enslaved.
Yes, and once again, an amazing soundtrack and choreography dance number.
So then we close off the movie where everyone gets put back together. Sitcha, which is Rom's fiance, and Rom, they are brought back together after Bheem made a promise to her to bring her back. And then Jenny is just magically there and kisses Bheem. And you might be noticing, Mr. Beefy, question, why have you mentioned Jenny until then and now? Yep, that's exactly what the movie did. We don't know. She was just there. And so the rest of the family's back together. The village has guns. The end.
Yep.
What the fuck was this movie?
Oh god. I love this movie. This movie had me entertained start to finish. Had me on a roller coaster of emotions.
Yeah, it did.
And god, the action was incredible. Even when it was stupid, it was so good. It was the right amount of over the top and like well choreographed, just fun, not trying to take itself too seriously, but also having seriousness at the right moments. It was so good. It was so good. I love this movie.
So, we both started off with a good 9 out of 10, Marcus. What are you going to give this movie now?
I started off with an 8 out of 10,
Oh,
and
my bad.
I will give it a 9 out of 10. This is a nearly perfect movie for me, because one of my things about movies is for it to have a high score, it has to do something that's like out of the ordinary but well. And by God, is this movie anything but ordinary and wonderful? I love this movie. Oh.
So with Marcus giving it a 9 out of 10, I would say with my final thoughts, this movie, oh man. Oh man, I'm gonna be taking this movie with me. I'm gonna be looking for a Blu-ray copy. This one is earning a spot on my movie cabinet. Um, Agreed. It did something that I never thought I would do, and that's be entertained fully for a 3 hour plus movie. Like, holy crap,
Yep.
that's impressive.
Bro, I saw Avatar, which was like 3 hours, and I was like, God, when does it end?
But you watch 3 hours of RRR, you're like, God, when does this keep? Why does this keep going? I want it to never stop. So I'm gonna keep mine at a 9 out of 10. The only reason it's not perfect is because the story plot with Jenny was the only part that I was like,
Where'd she
fuck?
come from?
Yeah, where the? That's the first thing I blurted out when I saw her. I was like, where the hell was she? Where was she in the movie?
Yeah.
I felt like she
she
infested.
Yeah, I felt like she could have been a good plot line where like she was harboring them or something,
Yeah,
or helped them break into the prison or something.
something. But overall, we highly recommend seeing this movie. Marcus and I had a great time. Carlos said that he had a really fun time watching it from what we saw in the messages when he was texting us. So yeah. And for next week, I would like you to join us for our review, because I'm going to be hosting next week, of Hardcore Henry.
I'm sorry, we're watching what?
Yes, Hardcore Henry. It's a movie on Netflix that's all in first person.
I'm sorry, it's what?
Goodbye, everyone. Have a good night.
Wait, hang on, what is this? Hardcore Hard. What the fuck is this?